Let's talk about why we say the things that we say. Today on the podcast, we continue our chat about women in fitness with Shannon Fable, one of the industry's top consultants, speakers, and thought leaders, about 4 words to avoid using if you wish to have a successful and satisfying career. Shannon has spent a couple of decades developing strategies for leading fitness brands and individual fitness pros, as well as writing and presenting on what she's learned. And today she's going to share with us her observations about 4 little words that, when repeated automatically over time, reveal a lot about who we are and why we do what we do, and they can really get in the way of success. What's so interesting about this topic isn't just the words themselves or the meanings of the words, it's why we say them. What are you really saying when you use these words? And sometimes more importantly, what are you not saying when you use these words? This is the Independent Fitness Pro podcast, the people and things you need to know to launch, grow, and elevate your independent fitness career, brought to you by MyFitPod. In this series, we're taking a deep dive into the journey from being an employee to being an independent entrepreneur in the rapidly evolving world of fitness and wellness, what it means, what it takes, and how to make it happen. I've heard you speak about a list of words that you recommend that your clients avoid. And if we can spend some time on those, what I found so interesting about them is it's not so much like, here's some words, I don't want you to say them. It's that it really fuels thought about why you might use those words and like what it reveals and that there's something to work on there. So can you take us through those?
Yes, I can. So I'll give you the 4 and then I'll break them down and we can go from there. The first one, and I guess I should say before I get started, these are not just female words, but if we look at those female fallacies, I find that women tend to use these 4 words more than men do. Again, that's a gross generalization. So I would say anyone listening to this can take a lesson from these 4 words, and just noticing when you start to put them in your vocabulary, that's the best thing. So I outlaw these 4 words, and what ends up happening with my clients is they realize how habitually they go to this word, how it's just in their vernacular, it's in their toolbox. And so they stop and they pause and we catch each other on the words. And then, like you said, they have to do some real introspective thinking or retrospective thinking and go, why am I choosing that word? And what's a better word?
Yeah.
So busy, overwhelmed, confused, and sorry. So busy is the first one. I think that busy is like my least favorite word in the whole entire universe, mainly because it's just become our default answer to everything and our default excuse for everything. How are you today? Busy. Why didn't you get that done? I'm just so busy. And I used to do this workshop called, I don't even remember what it was called, but it was about time management. And I would put up a slide and I'm like, here's the deal. Like, busy is a drug that most of us are addicted to. And the second slide would say, we're all busy. Get over it or manage your busy. Like, it can't be your excuse anymore because everyone is as busy as they believe they are. Does that make sense?
It totally does. I'm fairly obsessed with the overuse of this term. So you're preaching to the choir, right?
And people are like, well, what word do you use instead? I'm like, okay, because there's 2 things. There's what do I replace the word with so I can stop using it? And then what do I do to reduce my level of feeling busy and frantic? So the first is I tend to use the word full. So I just got back from a trip with my kiddo to New York City. She's 12. We had an amazing time. People were like, well, how was it? And my initial reaction is I do want to say it was really busy. We did so much stuff. But even when I just flip that word around and, you're at her mercy. But when I flip the word around and I say it was full, it was so full. It was filled to the brim. That just makes it feel light, airy, and exciting versus busy is this ew word. So, flipping it is the first thing. The second is I ask my clients to say, okay, are you really busy? Or is this something you don't want to do? Do you not have a good system for ensuring that your brain is not trying to keep track of all of your open loops? because that's usually why you feel busy. It's that, just a minute ago, like you feel like you have a million things to do. I do. Everyone has a million things to do. If I looked at my entire list of everything that actually needs to be done in the near future, I would lose my mind and I would use the word busy all the time. But I trust my system to tell me, like we talked about earlier, the most important thing I need to do today. Great example. Today, I have phone calls from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. where I have a hard stop to go get my kid to transition her to gymnastics. I do not work past 6 o'clock. So I know like when I looked at my thing today, it's like, I can't do anything except prepare for my phone calls. Am I busy? No, my schedule is very full today. Therefore, the thing that is essential is to prepare for each of those. And when I have some downtime, to take a minute. That's it. It changes my whole perspective about being busy.
I love the open loops analogy. When I think of being busy, that's what I feel in my head. It's like I have all these things that aren't done. And your advice is so good to have a system to prevent that.
Yeah, you do have to have a system. And that leads to the second word, which is overwhelmed, because your brain is not meant for holding your to-dos. And like if you think of it as, I always use the analogy, all the tabs that are open on your browser or how many windows are open on your computer. Your brain is just physical RAM. It has a capacity. I mean, it can hold an immense amount of information, but your brain cannot have all these open tabs or open loops. As I said, you have to have a system that allows you to catalog it, get it down and out of your brain, and not just in a list that you have to keep looking at every day, because that will make you feel overwhelmed. If you keep looking at your list every day, you will feel overwhelmed and busy. But when I trust my system that it is going to push things into what I call my backlog until they're necessary, and the only thing that is going to be in front of my face are the only things on my to-do list today are my phone calls and the things that I need to do in between the phone calls to prepare for the phone calls. That is it. That's it, because it's all I can do today. So I'm not going to feel overwhelmed.
Can I just ask you, because you said you use Trello, which I've used in the past, and it is, using a tool like that is, to me, extraordinarily helpful to achieving what you're talking about. When you're organizing your priorities, do you tend to look at your Trello board?
Oh my gosh, my life
Okay.
my brain is my Trello board. I have no thoughts in my brain except for what I'm currently working on. Um, but I will say, I used to be very bullish about this is the system, use the system, and I have learned since then in working with lots. For some people it works, for some people it doesn't. My rule of thumb is it has to be a system that will work for you, and you need to set aside time to develop a system that works for you. And I mean, kind of everything I'm talking about today is, I teach this thing called the Find Your Own Way framework. There are plenty of books and things that tell you exactly what to do and the steps to take, but you have to look at it contextually and then figure out your unique path. And, I could show you how my Trello board is set up. It's a work that's taken me 6 or 7 years to get it to a place where like it works for me. Constant renegotiation, reshuffling, just like, I used to, when I would feel overwhelmed in the past, I would buy a new paper planner and I would like just transition everything over into that and like organize it differently. Yeah, a little peek into my psyche. But Trello for me, I'll tell you why I love it. It's and why it may overwhelm some people. It is the world is your oyster. Like you can make it do anything you want if you spend time doing it. But for visual people, it's a great visual showcase of what you have to do. And it's very easy to hide things in your backlog, like I said, but them not be gone forever. Lists make me feel really happy. Moving things from one list to another makes me very happy. Like there's beauty in the actual, just like crossing something off your list makes some people happy. Yeah, I feel it's great. You can add attachments to it, put links on it, discussions inside of it, dates on it, reminders on it. I mean, it just has a ton of functionality, but you do have to spend some time with it to make it work for you for sure.
The MyFitPod Launch Accelerator course is your launchpad for success. In less than 3 weeks, you'll learn to market and sell your sessions with our expert help. You'll master social media with pro advice and a customizable posting kit. You'll publish your own pro website in minutes with our foolproof template, and you'll learn how to stream your services online, build your community of followers, and get personalized support from experts. Attend a free info session to receive a 50% discount on the cost of the course. Get ready to level up. Learn more at myfitpod.com.
Finding a system is really great. The other thing that can help you feel less overwhelmed is figuring out how to break things down into, and I've said this before, break things down into their smallest manageable chunk. So a real actionable, practical tip that I give my clients when they are figuring out, what's my thing? What's the thing I need to do today or this week? Every card, or, if you're not using Trello, everything on my to-do list starts with a verb, because to-dos are action. And if you have something on your board that just says birthday present, that's not an action. That's just a thought. So take the time to go, okay, what do I need to do about the birthday present? Purchase birthday present. But even something as simple as purchase a birthday present, to me, that might stay on your list. Have you ever had something like that stay on your list for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days, 2, 3 weeks? Because every time you look at it, it's like, yeah, I need to purchase it. Your months. And that's because, and this is like so weird, but it's a good illustration because most people have been there. You put it down and it keeps rolling over, because purchase, there are some things you have to do before you purchase. You need to know when you need it. Am I going to have to ship it? What does this person want? Where can I find that thing? Is there a website? Do I need to compare prices? Like, even purchasing a birthday present could be, it's a project, and I'm using air quotes, but that's why I say, like, you have to make sure it has a verb. And then once you see that verb, make sure that that verb is not vague. So another one that I see a lot of times is, my clients will say, I need to move my business forward, or I need to revamp my website. Revamp website, that is as vague as it gets, because revamping, what does that mean? But what does it even mean? And again, it's going to, maybe a better illustration than the birthday one, but that's going to continue to be on your list forever. So instead, one of your to-dos might be brainstorm all of the things that I need to change on my website. And if you get the verb right and you get it to its least common denominator, then you're going to know what done looks like. And that's very important, because you can't cross it off until it's done. So once I have them get their verb, I'm like, okay, then what does done look like? Okay, I'm going to have a list of everything on every page that I want to redo. Great. So once I do that, I can cross it off. You kind of get the idea, but that's another way to stop feeling so overwhelmed. I think a lot of times people look at things on their to-do list and they feel overwhelmed because it's not actually a to-do, it's a project. And you might need to set aside some time to do some critical thinking. Lots of things I work on with my clients with this overwhelmed thing, with something I call the TBD technique, the time by design technique. You got to find the time, make the time to not be overwhelmed, but I'll leave that alone. Confused is the other one. Oh my gosh. Again, I don't hear men saying confused very often at all. I hear women saying it. And it's a harder one to eliminate altogether. But what I tell my clients to do is, when you feel like you're getting ready to use the word confused, stop and ask yourself, am I truly confused because the person that's providing me the information to do the thing has not been clear, and I need clarity on what they're asking for, where I need to go, what I need to do? Is it that I truly don't understand the concept that's being presented or the information that's being presented, and I need to spend some more time with it and maybe review it again? Like, what ownership can I have on feeling confused? Or is it just an excuse because it's hard work, or it's a new concept, or it goes against your natural grain? Because I will tell you, especially if you're using this word with people in your army of empowerment or mentors or teachers that you have, it's a really challenging word for us to hear, because I don't know how to help you if all you come at me with is saying, I'm confused, help me. Well, I can't help you unless you know what help you need. So to me, it's not necessarily a word that you have to eliminate, but it's a word that you have to be. I don't remember what the movie was, but do you remember where they say precision of language? Be precise with your language. Are you really confused? Or do you have a specific question? Can you get your confusion into a specific action that someone else can help you with or you can help yourself with? Or was it just an excuse because you didn't set aside the time and you tried to do it in between clients on your phone while you were changing your clothes? Like those are all real things that could happen. So confused is another one. um, yeah, and then the last one, we've all heard this one. It's sorry. Um, Women use the word sorry so often, so often, and so unnecessarily. Usually, it's just the word and then a comma, and then we actually make the statement. So again, just putting that out to my clients, it makes them pause before they use it. Now, there are some times I do not outlaw this word altogether because there are times when you should say, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry." But things like, "Excuse me, I have a question." Can't you just say, "I have a question"? Or not apologizing for speaking up. This goes back to that whole own your accomplishments, knowing your worth, asking for it, advocating for yourself, standing up for yourself. You don't always have to apologize for being there. So that's when the word needs to be eliminated. Not in all situations, but if you ever find that you're using it just because it softens whatever the rest of the statement is, or if you feel like whatever your statement is or question is an interruption, so you do it as a non sequitur, then that would be when I would eliminate it. So I think that deserves less of airspace to talk about because I think most women are pretty open to that. The other one that goes along with sorry, sometimes they're interchangeable, is when we put the word just in front of a lot of stuff. I just have one little question instead of I have a question. We diminish what we're asking. It reminds me of people just shrinking back into the corner. So sorry and just are those two last words that I get my clients to really think about when they're talking.
So what I love about all of these is how it really compels you. Trying to avoid these really compels you to think about why you would be saying them. Can you recommend anywhere that people can learn more about this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, feel free to go to my website. I have a lot of freebies and then things that I've done out in the industry, whether it's writing articles about these topics or webinars that I've recorded that are free and downloadable and easily accessible. But the one freebie on my site that I think anyone, not just women, but men as well, but women tend to need it a little bit more, that I think they would find really helpful is something called the TBD technique, which I mentioned a minute ago. So TBD, normally means to be determined. And what I find is that when people are trying to do big things, whether it's climb the ladder, the corporate ladder, or strike out on their own, they're trying to find the time to make it happen. So, you know, like I said earlier, in between clients, or I'm going to wake up early on Saturday morning, I'm going to do a little bit of this. And ooh, when the kids go to bed, I've got 1 hour, I'm going to try to squeeze this in. And so it's a play on words. I want you to replace that to be determined acronym with time by design. You got all the time you need if you just do a little mental reframing of where to find the time. So it's a worksheet that will take you through figuring this out, and then 5 supportive videos that help you dig in deep to design your week, design your days, and get the right things done that won't make you feel busy, overwhelmed, confused, or in a need of an apology. So that would be a great start. And then I think I mentioned earlier, if you are a woman, sorry, men, it is for women only. I don't mean to exclude you, but I do have a really fun accountability group for women. I call it our little girl, and we meet once a month for a group call. And then every day we're together on Slack and Voxer, acting as one another's coworkers. The proverbial water cooler talk sometimes happens, but we're also tossing out things to hold one another accountable for the big things that we're trying to get done in the week, what we're trying to move forward. We do little mini lessons, we have book groups, but I'd love for you to reach out if that sounds like it would be interesting to you. But that would be where I would start. And then, of course, feel free to reach out to me if one of these items really piqued your interest. I'm sure I can point you in the direction of specific resources like the books that I mentioned and different webinars and different courses I've been to help me get a handle on some of these topics and techniques.
And can all of this be accessed through your website?
Yes, shannonfable.com.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Shannon. This is going to be so valuable to, I think, anybody that listens to it, but especially women. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Like what you're hearing? You can learn more about this topic in the MyFitPod Academy, where you can unlock your potential as a fitness pro with a custom training path. I'm James Brown, and I developed the content for the MyFitPod Academy. Our academy was designed to fill in the gaps between just being a great instructor or trainer and reaching your maximum potential as an independent fitness professional in today's quickly changing environment. The Academy teaches what you need to know about mindset, branding, growing an audience, working with technology, running a business, and building wealth. It's all waiting for you at myfitpod.com. The Independent Fitness Pro podcast is brought to you by MyFitPod. You can find more information about the topics covered in each episode, along with an episode transcript at myfitpod.com. MyFitPod exists to launch, grow, and elevate the careers of independent fitness pros everywhere with the tools, support, and education they need for sustainable success. You can tell us what you think of this podcast by writing a review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening.